Madam Chair, we are now recording.
Fantastic, Kathy. Then let me go ahead and call to order this meeting of the Oregon Aviation Board. If you could go ahead and call roll call, I would appreciate it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chair Meeker,
Here.
Vice Chair Granado,
I am here.
John Barcelou,
I'm here.
Doug Ferguson,
Here.
Tom Kruger,
Here.
Hilda Pareo.
Here.
All the board members are present.
All right, thank you, Kathy. And just a quick note for everybody out there in the internet land, if you could just take a second to silence all your bells and whistles and alarms, that would be great as we get ready to do the board. Okay, one note of record, just housekeeping. We have a consent agenda from last August to approve. Board sent it out in time for the board members to have a chance to take a look at it. Does any board member have any question on it? Anything that needs to be redacted or changed or added? Okay, hearing nobody having any concerns with the August 5th, 2021 meeting minutes, do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion.
Second it.
Motion by John, second by Hilda. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as is, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the consent agenda has been approved. Thank you very much. Okay, Kathy, let me give it to you for public comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to acknowledge for the record, we did receive written comment from the Oregon Association, from OWAMA. That's the Oregon Association of Airport Managers. If I hope I got that right. We have 2 people so far signed up for public testimony. Dave Inman from the Friends of Pacific City. You have 2 minutes, sir, if you just state your name and your either residence or affiliation for the record.
Okay, good morning. I'm Dave Inman with Friends of Pacific City State Airport. I have some questions for the board and any ODA members present. First, we're not present at all these meetings, so I'd like to know if we'll be able to use SOAR funds allocated previously to Pacific City State Airport fairly soon. We have projects we'd like to do and would like to know when they might be done. The second is we were encouraged about 2 years ago to form a memorandum of understanding with the ODA and the Friends organization. And that's not happened yet. What we hope is that we can establish joint expectations to facilitate getting jobs done and be kind of specific in that document and have that document be an example for other airport support organizations that may be formed. And then the third question I have, well, first of all, I didn't say that we need to know when the MOU might be done. Moving on to the third question, when can we get signage at Pacific City State Airport replaced? And can the Friends organization assist? The ones we have now are old and rusty. I believe Tony should have pictures. So to recap, we have a question about SOAR funds, a question about an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, and a question about signage at the airport. Thanks for taking the time to listen to me. I'm done.
All right. Hey, thanks, Dave. Dave, Pacific City will compete with the other state Oregon airports for SOAR funding. That process will get racked and stacked in the fall, and the board will vote on it probably December, January, going into February, actually, because we usually vote on it at the same time that we have the Oregon Airport Managers Association conference. So the rack and stack will happen this fall. The staff can continue to give you information on that. As for the memorandum of agreement, what is the status with that? If I can ask, Betty?
It's about 98% complete and it should be done in a couple of days. And
Oh, awesome.
yeah, it's just about done.
And then Tony, over to you for signage.
Yeah. So I'd actually be happy to address all 3 of those points if I may. I believe, Mr. Inman, if you're referring to the SOAR funds that are already approved from prior cycles, we Those projects are still paused. We had paused those projects last summer and contingent on available funds in the SOAR fund, as we're seeing a continuing recovering trend in our fuel tax revenues. We're looking to prioritize those projects and get those done when we can. But for right now, they remain paused, and so we don't have any progress to update on those. As for the MOU, it's on my short list, and I'm very happy to say that in just days I expect we will have a signed version that will make all of us very happy. So looking forward to that. And then as far as the third point, the signage, we have been working through some staff changes and just staff shortages this summer. It's put us a little bit behind schedule, but as things cool off in the fall and we're finishing up our mowing effort, I expect we'll have some improved signage there this fall for you.
Good.
And Dave, sorry for the confusion. I thought you were talking about the new SOAR funds. I apologize for that.
No problem.
All right, so we look forward to getting that memorandum done. If you could just drop the board a note in your weekly updates, Betty, kind of giving us an update on the memorandum. Just keep us on our radar scope, if you would, please. Thanks, Dave.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right, next up, I have Sally Rissel. If just your name and your either residence or affiliation for the record.
Sally, you're muted.
Got on mute.
Sally, you're still on mute. There you go.
Sally Rissel, President of the Friends of Pacific City State Airport. I just want to do just a quick recap of some of the things that have happened this year with our partnership with ODA, which we really appreciate. We continue to take care of the restrooms and keep them clean and ready. We put in a bike shed that's being used by lots of pilots. We keep the runway clear, especially in the winter. We monitor the floodgate. We hosted 2 chapters of the 99ers, the women's pilot group this summer, and it was fabulous, and probably will continue to do that again. And we just started giving away some flight scholarships and gave our first one away to a young man from Tillamook High School who just soloed at 16. So that's been a nice education part of our program. And so we're going to have a work day September 25th, like we do every year. And we already have lots of people signed up to help with that. And we're very proud of the airport and how it serves so many pilots. Thank you.
That's great to hear, Sally. Hey, there's the floodgate? Are we making progress on keeping the airport from being inundated by water?
Yes, well, it'll always flood a little bit, but the floodgate's working, and we have a resident that lives next to it, so he keeps it clear. And actually, we have a lot of volunteers that don't just help on the workday, but check on the airport all the time.
That's awesome. Appreciate all the volunteers out there. You guys do great work.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, before I go to the next person on my list, I want to offer courtesy to Senator Johnson, who has just joined us. She was here when I announced for elected officials to let us know if they wanted to speak. Senator?
Good morning. Thank you for the courtesy. I am just observing your deliberations today. I believe you're just coming out of executive session.
Yes, ma'am.
And the spirit of testimony may yet move within me, but as of this moment, I have no prepared remarks and no plan to make any. But I would reserve the courtesy of being able to hold forth if necessary.
You bet, Senator. You bet.
Thank you.
I also
Good
want
morning.
to offer the same courtesy to Mayor Fitzgerald from Wilsonville. Want to acknowledge that you're here and offer courtesy if you wanted to speak at this point.
Thank you, Chair, Committee, and Senator Johnson. I am just listening also. I don't have any testimony prepared. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Mayor.
And Councilor Linville from Wilsonville, also want to extend courtesy to you if you wanted to offer comments today? You're unmuted, but I don't hear you. So are we good? Or maybe I lost mine. Okay, with that, can you hear me? Sometimes my internet goes out. Okay. I'd like to go then to Tony Helbling, who's the next one signed up.
Good morning, Chair Meeker, board members, and Director Stansberry and Senator Johnson. I'm Tony Helbling. I'm the Secretary of the Aurora Airport Improvement Association, and I'm also the President of the Positive Aurora Airport Management Association. We've submitted a letter to you, and I believe it's been entered into the record. I won't read the whole letter, but the gist of the letter is urging the board to pursue fighting the case law that's been established by the appeals court and appeal it to the Supreme Court. We believe it's bad case law that's not just going to affect Aurora, it's going to affect all the public airports in the state of Oregon that are up against EFU land, and it's going to push safety to the back burner. We're joined in this by agencies inside the state and outside the state, to include the Oregon Airport Managers Association, AOPA, the Airport Owners and Pilots Association, the National Business Aviation Association, Helicopter Association International, Oregon Aviation Industries, and as well as the Wilsonville Chamber of Commerce. This is a huge, huge issue that is going to affect the safety and the potential growth or the ability for us to support aviation throughout the state. And with that, I just urge you to join in pushing forward the fight into the Oregon Supreme Court. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
You mentioned a letter. Is that the one from Owama, or did you submit a separate one? Because I don't have it in my email.
It's dated August 23rd, 2021. It's to the Oregon Aviation Board. The leading signature is from Owama, but there are multiple signatures on the letter.
Okay, so it's the same one that I've already sent to the board, I hope. I'll double check that. Thank you.
Okay.
I see no hands raised. Is there any, and I don't have anybody else on the list. Is there anybody else who would like to address the board at this time? You can either unmute or do a raise hand. Madam Chair, I have no one responding at this time, so I'll turn it back over to you for the next item on the agenda.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. I understand that ODA has a presentation, some update on some of the data that we asked to be gathered concerning the effect of the Court of Appeals ruling. Betty, is that correct?
That is correct. And if you'll give me a moment to share my screen, I will share that presentation with you. Okay. All right. So do you see a screen that says ODA State Aviation Board?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. How about now?
There you go.
Not- okay. Okay, so I just briefly want to give a summary of where how we got to where we're at today. The results of a survey that we conducted with the public use airports in Oregon, our conclusions from that survey, and then some potential responses for the board to consider to the Court of Appeals ruling. So just let me start if I can get this to start. Come on. Okay, so just to give you a summary of how we got to the point we're at right now. Excuse me. So in November 2019, the cities of Aurora and Wilsonville, Thousand Friends and Friends of French Prairie, and Joseph Schaefer filed a challenge in the Land Use Board of Appeals related to an October 2019 decision by the State Aviation Board related to the Aurora Airport Master Plan. In a year later, in December of 20, LUBA ruled on the initial challenge and rejected the arguments of the petitioners and ruled in favor of the State Aviation Board and the Department of Aviation. The petitioners then filed a appeal with the Court of Appeals. And in June of 2021, the Court of Appeals reversed and remanded the LUBA ruling. The business interests at the Aurora Airport asked the Court of Appeals to reconsider a portion of the ruling, and the Court of Appeals agreed to do that. And then on August 4th of 2021, they reaffirmed their earlier ruling. That second ruling by Court of Appeals started the clock on the 35 days to file with the Supreme Court. That 35 days will be on September 8th. And so at the July 15th meeting of the State Aviation Board, the board heard from 12 speakers, including several organizations, both national and state organizations and individuals, requesting the board to file a petition with the Supreme Court on the Court of Appeals ruling. So there are also some circuit court cases that are paused until further notice, pending the outcome of the Court of Appeals and potential Supreme Court ruling. I would point out to the board that the Department of Justice, excuse me, as both the agency and the board's attorney, must concur and file on the department and the board's behalf if the board should request a Supreme Court review. Okay, so at the July 15th meeting,
Madam Chair, Betty, could you repeat that? I'm not sure I understood what you just said.
okay, so on the September 8th deadline, or on the portion about DOJ concurring and filing. So at the July 15th meeting, we had several speakers, including Senator Johnson, and several organizations asked the board to direct ODA to file a petition for the Supreme Court review. The board did not take any action on that request, but directed staff to survey the public use airports to see what the potential impact of this decision would be. And I would like to share with you what those survey results were. So again, it was all 97 public use airports.
Betty, that wasn't my question. My question was your comment from the last deck of slides was that DOJ must, as ODA SBA attorney, must concur and file on ODA's behalf. My question is, you're the client. Maybe you've got some further explanation about that, because this looks like the DOJ tail wagging the aviation dog.
Okay, thank you, Senator. I'll be happy to address that in just a moment.
Thank you.
Okay, so the question that we asked of, of the public use airports was, first, does your airport have any development plans that involve the EFU land? Second, if it does, what's the time frame? Is it in 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5, or more than 5? What is it for, and how many acres? And third, do you have to acquire the land, or do you already own it? So out of the 97, we had 51 respond. So roughly half of the airports responded, and 8 airports indicated they do have plans that involve EFU land. So for the locally owned airports, of which there were 69, we had 23 responses. So that's about a 33% return rate. All of them indicated no, except for Klamath Falls, which needs to acquire 448 acres for a runway protection zone. Eugene, 4 acres for a second runway. Hermiston, 140 acres for road relocation. Bend, 78 acres for 980-foot runway extension. And all of those are in the time frame of 5 years or more, with the exception of Hermiston, which plans to do it in 3 years from now in 2024. And then for the state-owned airports, the 28 of them, we had a 100% response rate, And all of those airports indicated no development plans on EFU, with the exception of Independence with 55 acres for hangar development, Aurora, 55 acres for a runway protection zone, Bandon for a runway extension, and Malino for 6 acres of runway extension. Again, all of those in the 5-year plus time frame, with the exception of Aurora. Okay. So having the results back from the survey, the next question for ODA was, what is the applicable statute and what can we conclude from the results of the survey? So applicable statute, 8 ORS 836-600, that says the policy of the state of Oregon is to encourage and support the continued operation and vitality of Oregon's airports. And ORS 835-106, paragraph 2, that states, subject to ORS 835-17 and the policy direction by the State Aviation Board, the director shall intervene as authorized by the board pursuant to the rules of practice and procedure in the proceedings of state and federal agencies that may substantially affect the interests of the consumers and providers of aviation services within Oregon. So today's action before the board is a request to consider authorizing the director to intervene and petition the Supreme Court for review of the Court of Appeals ruling. In reaching our conclusion and our request, 3 things were considered. First, does it substantially affect? Second, the interests of consumers and providers of services, and is it within Oregon? Our conclusions were on substantially affect. We believe the Court of Appeal ruling will affect at least 8 public use airports within Oregon. Interests of consumers and providers of aviation services. We concluded that airports and the businesses located at them are providers of aviation services. Pilots, aircraft owners, passengers, businesses, and governments are the consumers of aviation services. And was it within Oregon? We concluded that it will affect both consumers and providers within Oregon. We did not consider if this affects consumers or providers outside of Oregon, because that is outside of the statute. So our conclusion is that it will substantially affect airports within Oregon. Therefore, what is the response, the options available for us to respond to the Court of Appeals ruling? And we believe that there are 3. First, a judicial, an administrative, or legislative. The judicial repair would be going to the Supreme Court. The administrative response would be asking the Department of Land Conservation and Development and their commission, LCDC, to voluntarily enter into rulemaking. And third, a legislative repair, which would be for the legislature to direct DLCD to do rulemaking or to address directly through legislation. We have considered all 3 options, and we have started discussions with DLCD on the administrative rulemaking. We are concurrently asking the board for authorization to request a judicial review. Okay, so the question before the board today is to authorize the director to intervene and petition the Oregon Supreme Court to review the portion of the Court of Appeals ruling related to the EFU land and to the urban growth boundary. I want to point out that the majority of the Court of Appeals ruling had to do with process and procedure. We are not contesting those, and we will go back to LUBA to address those. This request is to focus narrow on a portion of the Court of Appeals ruling related to development on EFU land, the urban growth boundary. Senator, to answer your question, the Solicitor General for the Department of Justice makes that final decision on whether to request a Supreme Court review. And we have legal counsel with us today if the board members have questions on that. But our request before the board is simply to authorize the director to intervene and petition the Supreme Court to review. So board members, Do you have any questions for staff or for Department of Justice?
Let me go back to the senator before we go out to staff concerning her question that it does seem that the DOJ wags Oregon Aviation Board. Over to you, Senator.
No, you've summed up my concern. It has always been my understanding that the department is the client, and perhaps that could be clarified by the DOJ on the phone. It seems to me that the department is in a greater position to understand the ramifications of this, and I'm just wondering to what degree there are political ramifications to a decision not to go ahead versus just the benefit of aviation in Oregon.
So Denise, are you on the phone?
Let me unmute myself here, and just for the benefit of the board, I'm not giving the board legal advice here. I do want to address Senator Johnson's question about the relationship between the board and the Department of Justice. Unlike the relationship between private attorneys and private clients, the relationship between the board and the Department of Justice is governed by statute. ORS 18220 provides that the Department of Justice shall have general control and supervision of all civil actions and legal proceedings in which the state may be a party or may be interested, and full charge and control of all the legal business of all departments, commissions, and bureaus of the state, which require the offices of the services of an attorney or counsel to protect the interests of the state. Those are the relevant statutes that provide that the Department of Justice does have control and charge of litigation. That being said, obviously, the wishes of the client are very important. We've been conferring with the board. We've been conferring with the director, and we are awaiting today an indication from the board whether the board would like us to go forward, and we will take that back. I will take that back to the Department of Justice, to the appropriate people, as to whether the board does or does not want to go forward, and a decision will be made. The decision will not be political. It will be based on the applicable law and the potential impact of what the Court of Appeals has done, as well as other ways that we can address the Court of Appeals ruling, which include working with the board and the Department of Land Conservation and Development and LCDC and their counsel to address this issue, and also assisting the board with legislative processes if the board decides that the board wants to take that direction. And so that is from our point of view how we see that the Department of Justice can be of assistance to the board on this.
Thank you.
Okay, over to any board member who would like to ask any additional questions or would like to comment about the topic under discussion.
Eddie, could you go back to the slide that has the three options?
Yes, one moment, please. Okay, do you see a slide that says a judicial, administrative, legislative?
Yep. I just wanted to go through the timeline of each one of those responses.
I'm gonna ask Denise to do the judicial, but let me say on administrative. um, We have had preliminary discussions with DLCD, and because of workload that they were given in the 21 legislative session, they've indicated the earliest that they could consider would be in about 12 to 18 months from now. And that process, once started, takes somewhere between 8 to 12 months to complete. On legislative repair, the two options, option A, direct DLCD to do rulemaking. The soonest the legislature could direct DLCD would be in the February short session. If we're going to address it directly through legislation, that would be in the 2023 long session. So I'm going to ask Denise to share what the judicial timeframe would be. And Denise, you're still muted.
Yep, I'm taking care of that. As I believe Betty indicated, the current deadline for filing a petition with the Oregon Supreme Court is early in September. The court does liberally grant extensions of time to parties, and we would be requesting an extension of time to do that, probably to early October if the board asks us to go ahead, and the petitions committee agrees with that. That would allow us to coordinate with other parties that may be seeking to file a petition for review with the Oregon Supreme Court. Typically takes the court 3 to 5 months to make a decision on whether to grant a petition for review. So that would take us into early 2022 before that decision would be made. If the court does grant review, in the order allowing review, it does set an argument date. We would expect that argument date would probably be in the time frame of September or November 2022, with a date for a decision then being 6 to 12 months after that argument date. And so realistically, it would be mid 2023 to late 2023 if the court allows a review before we would have a decision from the Oregon Supreme Court. And that is, I would say, also consistent with the time frame for doing something from an administrative standpoint with the Department of Land Conservation and Development. There's no downside to running those processes concurrently, and it may be to the board's benefit to clean up that rule, even if we get a good ruling from the Oregon Supreme Court, just to remove future doubt about how courts might construe DLCDC's rule.
Thank you, Denise. Vince?
Thank you. I just wanted the opportunity to thank the staff for the survey. I found that to be very helpful. This goes well beyond the Aurora issue. It's a statewide issue. I'm very comfortable with the decision to request the review by the Supreme Court, and I agree completely with Denise's perspective too about attacking this on multiple fronts, regardless of the outcome of it. So to look for both administrative and legislative fixes. So I'm very comfortable with all the information. I just appreciate getting the full story over the last month or so.
Thank you, Vince. Okay, the board member, we have Doug. Doug, do you have anything?
Doug, you're muted. Doug, you're still muted. Doug, you're still muted.
Okay, let me bypass Doug then and go on.
Can you hear me now?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep, you're good. You're good.
Okay, yeah. The statement there on action item 4. I would go along with authorizing the director to intervene or do whatever else she can to get the Supreme Court issue straightened out. I think we're pulling against each other when we shouldn't be. But I basically go along with, in fact, would make a motion to authorize Betty to intervene and do what she can in the right direction there.
Okay, so when we get to asking for a motion, I'll keep that in mind, Doug. John?
I don't have any additional questions. No, thank you very much. I'm in favor. So.
Tom?
I think that the information that we've been given is very helpful, and so no further questions.
Okay, thank you. As for myself, I agree, very comfortable, and more in fact, I'll go beyond that. I think it's our duty as keepers of this Oregon aviation system that we have to intervene. As it appears very clear to me that the Court of Appeals has supplanted long-standing aviation practices built on strong FAA rules, and they have supplanted that with their own judgment. This puts at risk, at least 8% of the half of 97 airports that responded. We have yet to hear from the other half. So it's clear that this has ramifications beyond just Aurora and beyond just the Oregon State airports. Because of that, my personal opinion is that it's not a question of do we, it's a question of we must. So with that, let me right now, I'm going to do formal motion language just to make sure that it's all up to speed. So right now we have on the floor a request to authorize, and I would say direct, the director or the Department of Aviation to intervene and petition the Oregon Supreme Court to review the portion of the Court of Appeals ruling related to executive farm use and the urban growth boundary. I have a first motion from Doug to direct the intervention. Do I have a second?
I second.
Second that.
Okay, I have a second by Tom. All those in favor of authorizing the director to intervene and petition the Oregon Supreme Court, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Please let it note that this motion was unanimous. Thank you very much. Betty or Kathy, back over to you.
Okay, Kathy, before you take it back over, Madam Chair, I need to make a correction. Eugene has pointed out to me that I had said it was for the secondary runway. It is for the main runway, not for the secondary runway.
Understood.
Okay.
It looks like Joe Smith is also trying to raise his hand.
Madam Chair, it's up to you if you want to allow additional public comment because the public comment portion has closed.
I think it's closed. Let's continue with the meeting.
Okay.
I just wanted to say thank you.
Oh, thanks, Joe.
With that, board, are there any board updates that board members like to share at this time for upcoming informational items or events?
Okay, hearing none, then I'll ask for any less questions from any board member that's out there. Okay, with that, anything from the staff?
Just a reminder to complete the board survey on the key performance measures for our annual performance progress report, and that our next meeting will be October 7th. Actually, I'm sorry, October 6th and 7th, and it will be a virtual meeting.
Okay, thank you very much, Betty.
Okay.
Any other ODA staff? Okay, hearing none, the board is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See you later.
Thank you.